Hey everyone, welcome to the testhim podcast. This is a fantastic episode, but just a little heads up that we are talking about trauma, miscarriage and stillbirth.
Testing 1.
Testing 2.
Testhim 3.
Testing 4.
Yes.
Perfect. He's got
Excellent,
it.
excellent.
We love that when that happens.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to the testhim podcast. And I mean, every episode is special, but this one's going to be extra special because we've got our very own Sharan Lota in the house. And Sharan is part of the LogixX testhim team and has been. You're part of the foundations, right? You're part of the furniture.
Well, I've been here a very long time. I'd say probably near to 15 years now in...
I think so, Sharon. Right from the start, from the discussions that I had with, the former company that you worked for, and has been successfully, integrated and is going on and on and on.
Yeah.
We're doing wonderful things in this fertility space, and it's just amazing to have you as part of the team, and it's brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very grateful and very honoured to actually be here on this podcast because I can see how we've grown from where we were, near to 15 years ago as well.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. So, and thank you.
Well, welcome. Welcome.
Yeah.
I know you was a little bit nervous coming onto this podcast today, but you don't need to be. You're in good company with us.
Yeah.
And
I think it can be quite nervous because when you're in a professional role, it's quite different. And then I'm here today to just share some personal stuff too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And all the good work that we've been doing over the years and that sort
Absolutely.
of history, the journey and where we are today and
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we're going in the future.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
well, good.
Yeah, so you're part of the team, obviously. Have been, like we said, since the early days, way before me and Toby were
way before.
Yeah, God knows.
We're just juniors in this space. Aren't we?
We
Yeah,
are.
just hijack the space.
Yeah.
We rocked up and said that.
Yeah. We want to play. We want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for those that don't know, what's your kind of role in LogixX and now
So-
sort of testhim?
Within LogixX Fertility, I've been doing business development for near to 15 years, like we said. And I remember going back to the office in Amsterdam with the former company, and Mike came to the rescue and said, "You know what? We'll set something up in the UK." And there was incredible pressure, to get male infertility awareness and supplementation out in the UK back then, when there was a lot of skepticism around it. And there wasn't enough male infertility talk. And I think with what we've done within LogixX Fertility and testhim now is incredible because we've created our own brand.
It is. It's an identity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, right from their foundations of, and it's really bizarre for me looking back, which I often do now because I often try to explain, well, what are we doing and where are you, and then how's things developing. And back in the day, we started with food supplements, with nutraceuticals, didn't we, Sharon? And it was a big old world out there where people didn't really understand male fertility and what you can do with food supplements, and we're often dismissed, weren't we? But we're almost had a treatment for a problem we didn't really understand very well. And then you roll the clock forward, we know much more about the actual issues that surrounds male infertility, and nutrition and food supplements is only one part of it, but an important part of that. And if I look back over the years of when we've been doing food supplements, nutraceuticals, and all the interactions and engagements that we've had, the number of babies that have been born as a result of not really knowing whether the food supplements would work or not, but the impact that it's had on people's lives is enormous. So
Absolutely,
clearly has an impact, and the scientists that we know that developed the medicines clearly knew their stuff, but it's really difficult to represent that in the marketplace when people are really unsure about where the data is to support proper supplementation of fertility. So
and I think it's always made me so proud to be part of a company and working in this industry where we're so science focused. And we don't just want to give patients anything and everything that you can actually, just get from a supermarket. Everything that we've done is always been so backed up with, real data. And we work with incredible professionals in the industry as well. And I'm so proud that we've got these professionals at our fingertips, just like our friends, and we can seek advice and help patients through that, you know, that are already navigating really emotional journeys.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy task either. So the work that you've done, actually, Sharon, has been instrumental for where we are today, because you're the one that actually went out and found all of those important healthcare professionals and actually trained them and did lunch meetings with them and breakfast meetings with them and everything else. But, you know, slowly but surely you've increased the wealth of the number of network contacts, and the trust that you've actually distilled in the industry is second to none. So, you know, and that's why we're successful, is because of the relationships. It's not because we've just got a great product. It's because we've got the relationships, and those relationships trust us to help deliver, you know, good scientific advice and the products that actually make a difference. So,
Absolutely. Oh, you're going to make me cry. It's
yeah.
getting emotional. We haven't even started.
I know. All right, shut up.
So,
But yeah, thanks to your credit card as well, you know. It was just me and you at the start.
It was.
And I felt like we were washing the supplements in the Thames. We didn't have as much knowledge as we have now, coming, you know, from understanding all these years, going from supplementation and now where we are with our own lab. And that's incredible with, you know, with the male diagnostics.
the proxy princess. That's what we should call her.
Yeah. We're talking about princesses earlier on,
Yeah,
weren't
exactly.
we?
That's what made
But
me
yeah,
think
maybe you are the proxy princess.
I love that. I love that name. But yeah, we were washing it in the Thames, and we actually didn't understand whether patients were taking too much, you know, and the semen analysis was becoming worse. But we've got some stories to tell in our time, you know, here. And here we are now with, you know, all them followers and patients that we've helped. The numbers just keep increasing, and they will.
Yeah. And I think that relationship piece, like you say, I mean, there is nobody else I know that could speak to consultants and have the relationship that you do. The fact that you're WhatsApping the top urological professors in the country, you know, where are you? What are you doing? And why haven't you done this?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
when are we meeting for a drink? And it's like,
Yeah.
that is phenomenal. Those relationships, you know, that you've got with, you know, the Asifs, the Jonathans, and all of them. It's like, you know, you're one-to-one contact with them. It's phenomenal.
It's not about being a big company or a small company. It comes down to relationships.
Absolutely.
And I've always told Michael and, you know, and the others as well, that this is my business. I've treated it like my business, and I go out there, and hard work always pays off because we're making a difference. And when you're passionate about something, you will excel and do that extra bit. And this is not just a 9 to 5 for me. I will work, you know, in the evenings and catch up with. I was, you know, talking to Asif like on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Whilst my daughter was in volleyball, and I was like, right, let's catch up. Where have you been? Why haven't I seen you for so long? And it's just really good to have that relationship. But it's a team effort as well.
I think you touched the point of friendship and friends. I think, you know, in this space of fertility, certainly in the short time that I've been here, it's the passion and the love that people put into their careers to help patients out is amazing. But building friendships with people like that can only be nothing but a good recipe. And you've shown that in that 15-year career that you've had so far, where building those friendships with people that have the same outlook in life in their professional sector of helping people out really does show. And actually in the time that I've met a lot of these people through your network and Mike's network, etc. I think that passion and that the genuinely good people that have put their life's work into this is from a patient perspective is honestly really humbling. It's a lovely thing to see. So, you know, and obviously you're just like the glue for everyone in that.
I feel like I'm a plug.
A plug or a plug?
I love
Careful.
networking.
Where's that plug being put?
This is the testing podcast, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Before the 9 o'clock curfew.
It's nice to plug people within each other, you know, and connect people, I should say. That's the word, connecting.
I know what you mean,
and it's
Sharon.
good because, you know me now. You know me too well.
Just ignore it.
You're a connector. I think a
You are a
connector is a
connector.
better term rather than a plug.
Yeah. And it is fun. Mike's always said it's fun.
Yeah.
We should have fun. We should have fun doing
Absolutely.
it. If you're not enjoying what you do, you shouldn't really be doing it. But I mean, we've had so much fun over the years, Sharon. You know, all sorts of different events around the world,
Absolutely,
different conferences, and you know, I think one thing that struck me last week actually was just that you got your phone out and said, "Just put your number in there," and I contact you. And it was like, that is like not really the way that sales representatives or business development people do things, but it's like the most effective way of doing it. You just cut through all the nonsense.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you know that you're trusted, and you know you've got the confidence to be able to do that. And they've got the confidence back going like, okay, are you going to respect my space here? And you go, I just go, I will respect your space. I just need to make sure that I can contact you because, like, you know, life is so busy, and you know, you can read it at any time you want. It's like a pager. I love that. Like an old-fashioned pager, isn't it?
And sometimes I go into these meetings and I walk away and thought, did I really just do that? Did I really just put my phone out and say, give me a number, because I'm sick of all these emails. They just get, you know, left in, you know, scam folder or something. And I need to push things, you know. Your patients are missing out on what we're here to offer.
Yeah.
There is a directness that comes with Sharan, isn't there?
There is.
But it works. It
It's
works. It
power,
cuts
isn't it?
through. And it's, I think, you know, what you were saying, Toby, about kind of, you know, that the community, the relationships and the passion and everything, it's such a rarity, I think, in a lot of businesses, you know, because some businesses just, well, we've got a product or we've developed something, we're just going to sell it and that's that. But this, you know, you've not built LogixX around that concept, you know, it's built through community, trust, relationships, good science and all that.
Absolutely.
And I think also the element of, we've mentioned fun. You know, this industry is a notoriously difficult thing to navigate as a patient. It's full of emotion. It's life changing depending on the results. But we've always believed, certainly from the beginning of the testing kind of idea, was about kind of making that feel softer and a bit more fun to bridge that gap to make it a bit more normalised. But from day dot of being involved with you guys, that element of fun really does sing through, because it just helps elevate what is already just great passion, and having kind of fun with it softens the difficult conversations that we do have, and we always want to make that kind of clear to sort of our patients, really, isn't it? It's kind of like make it an easier topic to talk about, and lots more happens that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think it's about the balance, actually. You know, I love to have fun in my sort of social and personal life.
We know that, Mike.
I know you do. I know you do. But, you know, I think it's a reflection of all the things that can go wrong in your life as well, and just having that balance. You know, we both got our personal stories, and you've got your own story, and you've seen a lot of stories and impact on a lot of people's stories. But it's sort of sometimes taking all that negativity and actually looking at, you know, we're all human beings, and actually on the planet, you know, we're not there to sort of worry about fear and fear of unknown and everything else. We're there to support each other and community and family and having fun. So if we can put that in, especially when people are having challenges, that makes it so much easier to, you know, accept information and accept knowledge and accept, you know, the awareness and everything else that we're doing, and make it in a, you know, accept it in a different format, whether at the racing track or anything else. You can, you know, we've seen people at the fertility show not that long ago, and these are people that are really struggling, but actually when they see us, we smile, we make them laugh, we make them, you know, make them more comfortable in the skin that they're wearing, so that it's personable, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And you know, and make it real, and then they really sort of take that home, and that's what makes a difference, I think, to that personal connectivity.
We offer that safe space, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But as you, I think, kind of hinted at, Sharan, you know that huge passion you've got for this, and that it is personal to you. But this is another big part of it, just as it is for Toby and Mike. That there's a personal story here that perhaps a huge amount of people aren't aware of.
Yeah.
And that is that a big driving force for you?
I think so. I think my professional career within fertility, I also have my personal, you know, side to it too, that I live this fertility journey every single day. And that's why I've probably been in it so long in the professional aspect, because knowing what the end outcome is and how many people that we're actually helping and creating that awareness means a lot. My personal story, you know, I've suffered stillbirth, I've suffered miscarriages. So I've had my own infertility, secondary infertility, which are things that are not really spoken about, and especially in the South Asian community. We celebrate pregnancy announcements and, you know, growing families so loudly, but we grieve losses quietly. And this actually goes back to generational silence and cultural and there's so much stigma around it. And me working in the professional capacity within the industry and having my own personal journey, I felt alone.
Yeah.
I felt isolated and there was nobody there to speak to. And then when we're at these fertility shows and I meet couples and I can actually resonate and feel the family, the stigma, the conversations that they're actually hiding away because they're embarrassed and that fear of judgment. It
No
all
one should feel
comes.
that.
It's really difficult.
It's a really lonely space, isn't it? When you experience those challenges, and we both experience challenges, and it's really difficult. And without a safe space, without somebody to say, actually, it's okay, and it's not, you're not the only person that is going through this, and there is support that is out there. That provides so much comfort and sort of support to those individuals so that they can navigate through it far better than what they're probably trying to do in their own communities or in their own family or in their own heads, really, I suppose. And often we don't really, men are particularly bad, aren't we? We don't talk, about, what's going on in our lives if something's not quite right. But, it's even more soul destroying if you've got that loss and, whether it's primary infertility or secondary infertility, the pressure that it brings to the family and the family unit is immense. It is really immense. And we do need to make sure that people are signalled and signposted to the resources that will actually help support them, because there is a huge amount of resources out there, and it's just a matter of being able to know where it is and going access it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to explore that South Asian community and family and kind of the cultural stuff there, which maybe we'll come on to in a little bit, because it's something we've never discussed, I don't think, on this podcast. But just a little bit more about your story, I think, would be really interesting for people. So.
My daughter Amani was conceived naturally. God, I was in Vegas. God knows what I was doing.
Enjoying yourself, Sharon. No, we're just having fun.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
God
I think
knows.
we know
came
what you were
back.
doing.
They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Obviously
it didn't.
not. It came back with me, so I was like, oops, I'm pregnant. And it was something that was unexpected, but she's beautiful and I love her. But yeah, she's 15 now. But at the time, she was only like 5-6 years old. And I'd tried, and we were having, miscarriage after miscarriage. And I worked in the industry, and I just, waved it off, ignored it, carried on. And then I was like, something's really not right. And I remember we were at a medical conference out in Lisbon, and I was sitting next to one of the doctors that was from US. And we had a really nice conversation, Dr. Shahin Gadir. And I was like, actually, you know what, I feel so pressured to give, Amani a sibling, not from Amani herself, but from the family. I'm going to all these family gatherings and functions, and everybody's like asking me, so when is baby 2 coming on? Is everything okay in your marriage? And it was just really pressuring. And then I would see sister-in-laws and family members around me just falling pregnant again and again and again. And I felt this sense of failure that I felt I needed to carry the family name on, the family honour. And as a woman, you feel that pressure, especially within South Asian communities. And so I went out to LA and very nice clinic. And long story cut short, we had 2 embryos transferred. And then at 28 weeks, my twin 2 lost its heartbeat. And I remember going to a scan, sitting out in the waiting room with Amani, and I was like, you're going to see your 2 brothers today. How exciting. And I had this really excited little 6-year-old. And then we went into the scan room, and, for the previous scans, my twin 2 was more bigger. He was always more aware. And it was twin 1 who was always, quiet and smaller. And for that week, I thought, you know what? And I went in and with my personality, I said to the nurse, oh, this twin, this on this side has been sleeping for the past few days. I think they've changed roles. There's not been no football going on. And then as the nurse started to do the scan, I could see by her face something wasn't right. And she said, sorry, we've lost a heartbeat. My whole world ended. I was 28 weeks pregnant.
Yeah.
I had the best embryos placed from one of the best clinics in the world. How? All these questions came, I just didn't know what to do. I've worked in fertility all these years and I had no idea. I'd heard about miscarriages, but I've never heard of something like this happening, and no heartbeat. Those words again and again, twin, we've lost a heartbeat, there's no heartbeat for the twin. I just said, so what are you going to do? Oh, the other one's okay. We've got one heart, we've lost twin 2. And I was like, how? It seems impossible.
At such a late time as well in the pregnancy.
Yeah. And there's no answers. I said, so what are you going to do? Cut me up? And they said, no. And then the doctor walked in and he said, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to carry them for full term.
Wow.
So my personal story is I carried joy and devastation for 8 soul-crushing weeks, side by side. And then I just didn't know, like, when people would come to the house, I remember that evening, everybody was crying around me, and people were coming to the house and they would look at my belly and just automatically say, oh, she's got a dead baby in there. It was so, like, I felt alone. I didn't know what to do with myself. And then, you know, there were stories of, oh my God, there's going to be so much poison building up. And because they were in separate sacks, I couldn't risk, you know, having a C-section so early at 28 weeks. And I remember phoning all the people we know in the industry because of my work, Michael. I called Jonathan, and I remember calling Shahin and saying, what do I do now? How has this happened? Nobody could give me an answer of why and how this happened. IVF is not guaranteed.
No.
You know, and you can have all the money in the world, but it's just, you know, you just don't know. And it happens to the best of us. We work in the industry, Michael, and we've both had our infertility challenges, and we've both been through treatments. And this is the thing that, you know, people look at us when we're out there at conference and they don't know our story.
No.
And I'll always consider myself as a twin mum. And
You are.
yeah. And you know, I do think, what would, I named him Arjun, what would he have looked like now? And I look at Arman, my surviving twin, who's going to be 10 this year, and I think, God, you know, what would their personalities have been like? Because it wasn't just my loss. It was the loss of a twin brother. It was a loss of another sibling. You know, to my parents, it was a loss of a grandson. And then while the world celebrated Aman, I felt the only one that was grieving Arjun. And I couldn't, you know, it was very bittersweet. But how many other people had this happen to?
It's more common than most people actually want to recognise, and I think this is the issue, isn't it? For all those silent hearts that are out there, those rainbows and whatever other colourful things that we want to describe, and butterflies, you know, it's so difficult. It is so difficult to deal with the grief and the joy at the same time. I mean, it's a bittersweet, isn't it? You've got, you know, a beautiful boy, but you haven't got the other one that can actually play and be, you know, that true brother and twin that has that special bond. And, you know, you'll always carry the fond memories, and they'll always be celebrated. You know, birthdays will always be celebrated, but it's going to be so challenging to do that as a family. And so those are the stories, and those are the heartbeat of why we do what we do, so that we can help others not necessarily experience that pain that we've experienced, Sharon. I think that's the reason that I get out of bed in the morning, is because I want to ensure that whatever I can do, in whatever capacity, I can help other people not experience the pain that I've experienced, but can enjoy the fun and the joy of, you know, life and celebrating life, because that's what we're here for as human beings, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or if
Yeah.
they're facing that pain, they've got the support around them.
Exactly.
That you didn't have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
none of
I
you
mean,
guys
this is
had.
testament to it, and the support groups that we hold and the support groups that we've held in the past, they're all testament to actually trying to help people move that journey forward for them in a positive, or in a way that we might not be able to actually help them, but actually help them cope with the life stresses that surrounds fertility or infertility. So that's I mean, it's you've got me on that one, Sharon. 'Cause I know the story, and we've been together through all of that journey, haven't we?
Absolutely,
as
yeah.
employers, as friends,
yeah.
and everything else. And it's still challenging to hear that story come
It
back.
always is, and I'll never forget the support that you gave me. But at the time, 10 years ago, social media wasn't what it is today.
No.
And I remember frantically searching on Instagram, and I found somebody who was actually out in Australia who had a 6-year-old daughter and who was in the same shoes as me. And I remember messaging her, and she was just some random person. Thanks to social media that I was able to do that, because I didn't know who to speak to. What help was it available? Because I'd never heard of stillbirth. I knew of miscarriages, and they happened so early, but nobody could answer why it happened so late.
Crikey, I mean, people don't talk about miscarriage,
No, they
as
don't.
much as
Bury it, don't
they
they?
should in terms of getting the message out there. But stillbirth
Absolutely.
is even more taboo, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
and going back to that moment, what support was there? Was there anything offered by the clinicians? Well, because that's a huge process. I mean, how I can't get my head around it. In all honesty, that you then have a beautiful child that will always be precious, but then you've got this huge grief on the other side. It's like, how on earth do you balance that as a human being? And that very moment of you hold a newborn, but you say goodbye to another. I mean, how did you get around cope with that?
And I'll take you back to the day I delivered these guys and these little boys, and I always tell people I carried and gave birth to death. And that is what made me so strong. And that is what makes me so strong to this day. I'm helping and making a difference to people out there, because it changes you. Grief changes you. And it makes you become really thick-skinned, that, you're going to help people, because you want people. I don't want anybody to feel like I felt back then. It's not a nice place to be, but when you've got that support there, and I want, if anything, from this conversation, to people to go away to talk about it, and break that stigma, especially within the Asian communities, because it's just unspoken about, and it's hidden away behind closed doors. It's an embarrassment. We can't tell the community, because it'll become a gossip of what happened. And everybody was celebrating a Rahman. I mean, Mike, you even attended one of our parties.
I did, yeah.
And it was a celebration of Amman, and there was like 600 people there.
Yeah.
And it was only just a couple of months after I'd buried Urchin. So that's the difference. You have to go through a whole funeral, and I held both boys in my hands. I mean, I had a vision. You have this expectation. I'm having twin boys. I'm going to be that Peggy Mitchell, with Grant and Phil. And that's the image. That is honestly.
You had in your head. Oh my word.
That's the image I had. I said, they're my boys. They're going to be everything.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I could have delivered them and they'd been fine. But 7 months, that was a long time.
Yeah.
And so when I, went and I went a week early for, they were delivered on the 10th of November. And I pushed for an earlier delivery date at, 36 weeks, simply because I'd had enough and I was scared.
I bet he was, yeah.
During those 8 weeks of knowing that he'd already passed, every single day I went to hospital just to hear the heartbeat of twin one.
God, I bet you must have been so anxious.
I was so anxious. I was so scared. And just to hear that heartbeat, it gave me so much, reassurance and comfort that it's okay, because, losses can happen to any one of us. Doctors, lawyers, business people.
Yeah, nobody's immune.
Infertility affects everyone. And this is, another message that's so key, that, it's 1 in 6. There's no judgment here. And I went in, and when I delivered the boys, it had to be a C-section as well. And their priority was to get Arman twin one out, and he was nice and healthy. And I remember holding both boys in the palms of my hands, and I held them, and I felt I'm still that twin mum.
Yeah.
27 hours I spent with my deceased son. And he came out, and he was so green and so dehydrated because he'd just been floating around for 8 weeks. You know, and that builds up toxins within your body, and that builds up poison. And I remember the consultant walking in the next morning, and she said, "I can't believe you're alive."
Really?
Oh.
My word.
And I am so glad that you pushed for me to deliver earlier,
Wow.
Goodness
because we could have lost you, because the poisons had built up so much.
Yeah. Great sepsis,
And
can't it?
no matter what he looked like, and I was embarrassed at the time as well, because everybody was coming to see Arman at the hospital, and they all wanted to celebrate. This was the first boy in the family, and that's another issue. You know, there's pressure.
Oh, hugely celebrated
To have
in the
boys
Asian
in the
community.
family.
Yeah,
It's the first boy in the family. He's going to carry the family name, and you know, I just felt, well, hang on. I don't want anyone to look at my other son, because I felt embarrassed because he was all green, but I loved him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You
You
would.
know?
You carried him.
I didn't know
You know,
what to do at the time.
No,
I didn't know
created him.
exactly. And then, do I cremate? In my religion and in my culture, we cremate. And I said to Mum, I simply can't burn my son. I can't burn my child. And then my mum, you know, comforted me and said, actually, you know what? When they are younger than 5, we often just bury them. And the smallest coffin, and I tell you, boys, was the heaviest coffin.
Oh, gosh.
It was a beautiful ceremony that we gave. And, you know, he's buried right near Heathrow Airport. And my younger brother stood there, and he said, "Don't worry, because when I'm flying over him, he'll be able to wave at him." And it was really emotional. But
That's Harry.
it doesn't give you any, like, you know, the pain and the grief never goes, Michael.
No, it doesn't. You'd learn to cope with it.
You learn.
But it doesn't go away.
No.
It doesn't go away.
And this takes me back, Ian, to a conversation. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were at a table, and one of my friends was just sat there, and she starts talking about her twins. And rightly so, Michael.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, every
Celebrate people's twins.
child should be celebrated, and every parent should speak about the joy. And, you know, and rightly so. And there was no intent there. However, she was talking and saying how her twins were in sync, and their personalities, and how beautiful they are growing, and how different their relationship is to the other siblings. A knife went through me
I know.
silently, and I didn't know what to say. And I'm an expert in this industry, and we do this as a job day in, day out. And I felt I couldn't speak, because my mind just blew back to 10 years. And it felt only yesterday that I was carrying them. So, yeah, I think it's important to share this story to anybody that's out there who's struggling in silence, who feels that infertility is a punishment. Well, let's talk about it how we talk about diabetes and cardiovascular.
Because it's recognised as a disease, and there is often reasons why we struggle with health issues, and we need to ensure that we're seeing the right people to help us along that journey. You know, and you know, it may need medical treatment, it may need, you know, further support and advice, and you know, a correction of people's lifestyle, perhaps, you know, that they're not necessarily aware of, to actually improve their situation. And it's incredibly difficult. But the support is out there. There's some really, really good people, and we've met some fantastic people in the industry, haven't we?
Oh, God, yeah.
And yet, you know, it's quite too often that people just don't know where to go and don't know how to access support. And it's most of it's free. It's free advice, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's going to make that big difference in people, how they navigate through their lives, and just take some consolation that actually there is a purpose moving forwards. You can't just live in a world of grief. It will never go away, but there's ways of managing that so that you can enjoy the rest of your life and your family's life and your colleagues and your friends, and do some wonderful things. But you will never forget. You'll never forget. And I think the most important bit is say you've got to get to that acceptance, haven't you?
Absolutely. And you heal.
Yeah.
And the more conversations you have, the more it's like therapy. So that's why we need to, talk about it. And I think also within the South Asian community, we talk about growing families. You can have an amazing job. You can be an Oxbridge graduate. You can be, have 10 properties, but you're not anything unless you've got a child.
You've built a successful family.
Yeah. And imagine all that pressure that person and that couple have behind closed doors, and they can't talk to anyone. It's just, there's a lot of, unspoken subjects. And going back to male infertility as well, and how this is so much pressure on a woman, a semen analysis is probably the last thing that a South Asian man would do.
Yeah.
Before, I really want to get into that, but before we get into that, just to kind of close your story for now, did you get an answer as to what happened and why you lost one of the twins?
To this day, Ian, no answer. No professor, doctor can come back with an answer of why that happened. And I remember even calling Jonathan, and I said, how? Why? And I don't really know anything about fetal medicine. So I, searched, and, there's nothing. There was no reason. It just happened. And then the support that was out there at that time, 10 years ago, was just, there was a charity.
It was a charity, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you
I think you reached out to me, Michael. You were the one that told me to reach out to this charity.
Yeah.
But because I felt so alone and my mind was elsewhere, and then I'm trying to look after
to manage being
my
a
survivor.
Parent. Yeah, trying to be a parent as well as trying to deal with everything else.
That's it, And also, my 6-year-old daughter, felt, why has the brother not come home? So there was that relationship as well. And then she felt hurt knowing that we'd had a funeral and she wasn't there.
I mean, at 6, it's difficult, isn't it?
Really hard.
It was so hard. And she held that against me, and she didn't understand. And, I had to get therapy for her for that.
I was just going to ask, did you then get any counselling or therapy? Because that's just so much to deal with.
At the time, no. And I still haven't. And that's something that I want to do on my own, personal journey. But the therapy that I have got is talking about it. And talking to other patients when we're at the fertility show and we're showing our presence via our company. And I feel so proud to stand there, as part of LogixX Fertility, to say, I've been there. Yeah. Let me share my story with you, because I understand what you are going through right now.
Yeah.
And I say that to a lot of the South Asian couples that I speak to, and it puts them at ease.
It's just that empathy, isn't it? It's just a matter of saying,
I get it.
We get it. We get it.
Yeah.
You're going through all sorts of emotions.
Yeah.
I've been there, and I'm hearing you.
Absolutely.
I'm hearing
You just don't need
Some
to explain
people
it,
just
yeah.
need to be heard, I think, sometimes, and that's probably the best therapy. Is just being heard.
Oh God,
and just being able to share that burden that you sort of build up on yourself. So
because I think people that haven't experienced these things just want to almost try and find reason or explanation to try and, how can I put it, kind of make you feel better about the situation. But
usually
I
make
think
themselves feel better.
all that.
you've got to heal within, haven't you?
Yeah, just the old fashioned, just relax, it will happen. Those kind of adages that you hear. But I think when you've got your own personal story and like you have, Sharon, we've obviously spoke before, but by just knowing that you've gone through that and there's a kind of mutual ground, you almost don't have to say anything. You just have this nod of, I get you, I hear it, I really do. And hearing your story like today, I mean, I've had it before, but when you hear it again, it's so emotional. It really is. But it's just so great that you've found this kind of resilience, I suppose, and this passion to obviously change the future for others. And thank you so much for sharing your story, because honestly, it's a very brave thing to do.
It's taken a long time for me to actually come here, because I remember I cancelled the first one just because I just didn't feel ready to talk about it. And I think going back to that conversation at the table when my friend was talking about her lovely twins, I thought, and I remember calling Ian and I said, Ian, I need to share my story.
Yeah, you were ready.
Yeah.
That was such a lovely moment that we had that
Absolutely.
conversation. You're
Yeah.
like, I want to share my story.
I've got to do
You know,
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think we should say that that person that was sharing their twin story with
Yeah.
you has also been through it. So
Absolutely.
she has had that experience, but still,
Yeah.
but this is that thing, isn't it, with couples that have been through fertility, but also just grief and loss and anything. You never know when it's going to hit you between the eyes.
No.
But
You
you also
never know which conversation is going to suddenly set you off, and it must have been such a shock for you that evening, because you just weren't expecting it.
I wasn't expecting it. And then it also made me realise that if we're sitting around the table with friends, somebody is going to be struggling in silence. Just because they're not talking about it. They might have had a negative pregnancy test that morning. They might even be going IVF treatment and they haven't spoken about it.
Yeah.
So it's just to be gentle and be kind and,
But I think the thing is within the fertility thing, from our own experiences, and I'm sure other major life events and traumas and stuff have a similar sort of consequences. There's always kind of like a very sort of split thing in your brain. You've got this kind of like one side of you really happy for that person that they've got what may have been. And certainly when we had our kind of first losses, that friends of ours were having children, and yes, of course, we were really happy. But then you've got that other side of your sort of trauma side of your brain that's then like, but why me? And like, what would have been, and all the questions start. And that, I think sometimes that clash in your mind actually is almost quite toxic in its own right.
Yeah.
Which why talking out about these kind of things is so important, because it helps you kind of acknowledge it. And also, I think by speaking to other people that have had similar emotions, it kind of validates that that's actually quite normal.
Yeah.
Certainly when me and my wife were going through our issues, that was one thing that I felt like really down about, was the fact that I'm quite a happy person. I like to see people happy. But at this point in my life, I was like, I don't want anyone else to be happy. Like, why do they get to deserve to have that good, And that clash in your brain is quite a difficult thing. So having that validation is really important. I think sharing your story today, and anyone listening in, and certainly anyone from the South Asian community, honestly will help so many people. And I say thank you again to share your story, because honestly, it's just the effect it's going to have is amazing.
Yeah, I just feel like there needs to be more talk on the men.
Yeah.
Because we have this in our families where the men have to appear to be strong. There's a lot of masculinity involved. There's a lot of ego. And it's normalised for a woman to have a scan. It's normalised for her to be pushed to have a blood test. Yet a semen analysis is the last thing that he will do.
Yeah.
And that's simply because, oh my God, that fear of judgment, that fear of what if it's my fault?
It's the potential of that vulnerability of something going wrong, isn't it? Or not being quite right. And then this switch of the blame it could be the blame of why you're not becoming parents, could automatically flip, and that's really, really difficult. I can only imagine in the South Asian community, and we've experienced it on our support group as well, haven't we? We've got quite a number of people that have come on our support group, and you can almost transcend that feeling of, oh, I don't want it to be me. I can't afford it to be me. I don't want anybody in my family to know that it's me. Yeah. And I think that is the issue that we've got to remove culturally, if we can, that actually becoming parents is a two-way thing. It's 50-50. And, all of the history that we've grown up with about being a female issue, we've got to dismiss that and actually encourage guys to come forward, to come and talk with us, even if they haven't had a semen analysis. Just talk with us about what is expected and what you can do to actually support your own fertility health. And sometimes the advice is all that people need. They just don't recognise the risk factors that they may be putting themselves under that could be preventing them from becoming parents naturally. Yeah. And if we could do that just by talking, what a wonderful thing that would be, wouldn't it? Just to influence how they may want to just change some small things which will make a big difference.
But I think and I think it's also, there's that kind of misconception that if you find something, then that's kind of the nail in the coffin, that's it done. But quite often, actually, knowledge is power in this space, and exactly why we are banging the drum about testing. Because the more tests you do, the more information you get, empowers your decisions for a better outcome in the future.
Yes.
No matter what that might be.
You're so right, Toby.
And that's such an important point of why men should be checked, because if you don't get that information and then you're just left with this kind of quote unquote unexplained infertility we hear all the time couples talking about, and certainly me and my wife was in that camp once, like, where are you going? You're going nowhere at that point, are you? And I think that's so important that sort of taking that kind of that step forward to go, do you know what, let's just have a look at myself, because once you get that support, the outcome could be massively different.
Absolutely.
But Sharon, tell us about then your family and what it's like to be in an Asian family and the pressures that creates and the stigmas. Because, you know, like I said, we've heard it on the support group, and, you know, we've spoken or heard stories of, you know, Asian couples where they can't conceive. Like, say, the woman's had the scans and all this, and the guys had nothing, and they're deemed infertile because of her. And then the marriage ends and he goes and marries another woman because she can't get pregnant. You know, so what's it like being in a South Asian family?
I think that, again, what Mike said, is a lot of blame game. But before we get to that, let me give you a bit of like how history is within an Asian family. Is I started my period when I was 10.
Wow.
And that still to this day is quite young.
They're very young, yeah.
We didn't even have sex education at school at that age. And, you know, again, thanks to social media, things are changing now. At that time, I didn't know what had happened. And I kept, you know, I remember going to the toilet and I kept changing my underwear, thinking, what's happened here? Oh, my God, what's happened? I lived in an extended family with my dad's brothers, my grandparents. So
in one house,
in one house,
because that's very
in
sort of
Leeds,
South Asian,
in a terrace. So you know, it was a lot of people, and I was the first daughter, first grandchild to the first son. Again, that comes with a lot of pressure as well. But I remember starting my period, and I knew nothing. I didn't know what it was. I thought I'd scratch myself, and then the next day, my mum and my aunt pulled me to the side and said, you must not hold a boy's hand now, because if you hold a boy's hand, you will get pregnant.
Right.
Wow.
My goodness.
Oh my goodness,
school.
that's education, isn't it?
I went to school and we had PE. And who was my partner? And I had to hold hands. A boy.
Oh.
So I came home and thought, I'm pregnant. I'll never forget.
Oh my
And
word.
you know what? Honestly, we should have my mum on the podcast to explain herself, because
Parents have got a lot of things to explain themselves about, haven't they?
And I still question my mum, why did you do that to me? Because that traumatized me.
Yeah,
I
sure.
thought I was pregnant so much. I went up to my dad's younger brother and said, I'm pregnant. And he thought that I was obviously sexually active. It was so embarrassing.
At 10 years
But at
old.
10,
My goodness.
Yeah.
because of the lack of education. Asian families don't talk about periods. So then the years went on, and I still remember hiding my sanitary towel up my sleeve so that my dad or my uncles no one knew that I was on my period. It was just not spoken about. So that's periods. But then if you have an irregular period, how would you know?
Yeah. How do you cope with that?
What is a normal period in an Asian family? Because if a period is not spoken about, then how do you know what's normal and what's not normal?
Yeah.
So endometriosis and, you know, issues are so common within that community, and then they're treated so late.
Because they don't
Probably
talk about
because
it,
it's
don't
a
get
taboo.
investigated.
You don't go and get help.
Don't go and get help.
Nobody's talking about it. It's like it's your own individual personal issue. You know, keep quiet and just carry on.
I've had somebody come to me saying, I've been diagnosed with endometriosis. My doctors told me I need surgery, but my mum is simply not allowing me because she thinks I'm going to lose my virginity. And so
Wow. Okay. That's
what
another
will,
paradigm,
you know,
isn't it?
my family future in-laws think? And I was just like, are you serious? This is going to affect your fertility later on. There's sometimes
There's a medical reason
it's a
right now.
medical issue.
That may be the cause of any infertility in the future if you don't get it sorted out.
Absolutely. So going back to, you know, men and women, if periods aren't spoken about in an Asian household, then how is stuff like men's health, erectile dysfunction, testosterone,
semen, sperm quality,
sperm DNA fragmentation which is one of the main causes of miscarriages.
Yeah.
How are these subjects going to be spoken about if we don't start talking?
Yeah. And so this was, like say, well, when you were 10, know, I'm not going to give your age away. We don't do that to women on this wonderful podcast.
Not today.
But how old are you, Sharon?
But this was
21.
Yeah, exactly. This was only 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Has it changed now, or are all these stigmas and taboos still within the community?
I think because I speak a lot about it in our family. My mum now has my niece who's 10, and I've told my mum, you have to talk to her about it. We have to normalise this. My son is 10, and I tell him, Mummy's on her period now. Just leave me alone for the week.
Don't ask for this.
One day you're going to have a wife.
Yeah,
just understand. Just leave me alone. My hormones are all over the place. And I think it's education, and education comes from having these conversations. And I think more families are speaking out. I think it's just because it's our generation that's making those changes, and we're breaking that silence. And that's the whole point of coming today, to talk about that these things need to be spoken about.
And how's that received by the older generation? Like, oh, you're starting to talk about periods and fertility and sperm and...
They do. It takes people back, because I'll go to family functions and, someone will come and pull me away and say, I know you work in fertility, but I don't know what you do. But I've been trying, and I don't really want to tell my mother-in-law. And you go back to, like, have you had your tests done? And they'll have had, like, 3 or 4 miscarriages. But she feels like she is the one to blame for something that she simply... It's not in her control.
No.
But just because, and then I go back and say, well, this is what I do. We really focus on sperm DNA fragmentation testing. Did you know that could be actually the cause? And she's like, oh my God, I can't tell him to go and get a test. He just about is, okay to have a semen analysis. I can't tell him to have all these further tests, because that puts more pressure on him. And I can't have my mother-in-law finding out, because she's already said, I'm the issue, and it's causing emotional conflict, domestic. Domestic violences are actually, related to infertility cases in South Asian families.
I cannot believe it, unfortunately.
It's sad, but I mean, there's still communities out there that shy away from this, and they've never been to see a GP about it. They've just, it will happen. And, there's inside pressures within families.
Where does that dynamic come from? Why is there so much focus and pressure and expectation on the woman and nothing on the man? Where does that come from?
I think that just becomes because of family honour, family name, and it's never the man's fault. It's a lot of ego involved here. It's that masculinity and femininity issues. The social aspect. You don't want to be the community gossip. You keep things within the family. But it's an unspoken competition.
Right.
So when you meet somebody, they'll be like, oh, when are you getting married? And it's an automatic expectation. So you get married, you have baby 1 and you have baby 2. However, when you get married and baby 1 doesn't come, questions start arising.
But only for the woman.
Only for the woman. Oh, when are you having a baby? And you don't know. They might be going through their IVF, but they're too shy.
Maybe at the most difficult part of their life as well, when you're asking those questions. And we hear it so often, don't we, about what people say, what people can say, and what people shouldn't say. And again, that's another big sort of area that probably needs exploring, especially in the South Asian community as well, because it's too easy to assume that you're just going to want to have children. I mean, not everybody wants children. I think that's the other part about it. And I was talking to a chap on Monday, and he said, I'm very, very comfortable in my life. He's a lawyer and so forth. And he said, but we decided we don't want children for whatever reasons. We love dogs, and we love cats, and we've got a family built around animals because we both recognise that with them both being lawyers, they don't really have the time to really focus on that family life. So they decided that they wanted a life without children, but with all the comforts of having a family, sort of furry friends in their life. So why shouldn't that? why shouldn't that be something that we need to talk about as well? Because it's not everybody's, just because it may be the tradition, it may not be what is right for the individuals.
Absolutely.
It's almost actually that clash, isn't it, of the South Asian community, family, religion, and how life has been for many, many generations, kind of clashing with the Western world and society and how life is now, because it is hugely different now for all of us. But when you've got, I guess, a community and a religion and society that's built on that kind of history butting up against modern society and the way things are, it's a huge kind of clash, isn't it, I suppose. And I think, listening to what you're saying is that, a lot of investigations on the woman, it's not really the guy, the expectation from the mother-in-law and the parents when you can have kids and marriage. I almost think it's like, it is very much what we see across the board, but it seems to be really magnified in the South Asian community. It seems to be, it's a much bigger example of that kind of, let's focus on the woman, probably can't be the man. It is what we see across the board.
It's a lot of desperation, and then they have to hide away. Whereas in the Western world, we can openly talk to our friends and say, actually, I'm having, some treatment going on. And I think they're a bit more open. But here, I mean, I know some family members that have come to me in confidence and said, we're going to have treatment, but we can't go away abroad, and they're going to have an egg donor. So, oh gosh, egg donors, sperm donors, and nobody in the family can find out because the child won't be accepted. So imagine that only a husband and wife they're the only people that are allowed to know, but they couldn't even go away for 1 or 2 nights, just to get some extra tests done, because they live in an extended family where there'll be questions of where have they gone. Everything has to be very
I find it really sad.
on the low, and it's so sad because they're so desperate, and they're desperate to please the family, to be accepted. And that's what a lot of South Asian communities.
But I guess as well that a lot of these emotions are even more amplified because of how big the celebrations are when there is a baby born in the family, or there's because your celebration is amazing. But I guess that amplifies that effect, doesn't it? Because obviously you've got that. When you're trying for a family and you've got just even a close friend or a brother or sister that has a child, that's a big thing. But if there's then this huge celebration that goes with it whilst you're suffering in kind of silence, I mean, the effect on your mental health at that point must be really challenging. And like, we talk about isolation being a big thing, but that's even more isolating, isn't it? Because the community around you is having these huge celebrations. That must play a big part of it.
It really does, and that's the point where I mentioned, like, South Asians, they love celebrating, but they love to celebrate a pregnancy now, but they don't talk about the struggle to get there and to grow their family, and the support available, especially with our testhim support group. And I think making more men navigate towards that support group can be so valuable, and actually can help a lot of patients. And I just want to be that voice for that community, for that person that's actually struggling and who has, who's probably in my shoes. Where
Maybe
I once
we need
was.
to get you on the support group, Sharan, as a guest, to kick off some discussions about the difficulties about being in a South Asian, sort of family, and what consequences that could have, and actually break that taboo, and then let's have a discussion about how can we help people in the South Asian community access better knowledge, awareness, education, everything that we do, because the people that are around us, our networks, we talk about the networks that we've developed over 15 years. We know pretty much all the experts in the industry, and they are so kind, aren't they, in their approach. And just coming back to, where people need support, we probably know how to access them discreetly, as well as, importantly, to professionally, to make sure that they can be managed properly, diagnosed and treated, or just the advice that they may need to get them a little bit further ahead without the taboo and without the issues that go on in their own lives.
But I just want to highlight that point really, because within male factor infertility, quite often there's simple things that can be done to future-proof your kind of future efforts of trying for more than one child. IVF obviously can give you that one sort of stab and go. But then if there's still male factor infertility problems, it means you've got to keep revisiting clinics and stuff. But actually, if the men in this community get tested, it might mean that to allow them to have, if they want to, a much bigger family easier.
Yeah.
And actually, you're doing your whole family justice at that point by going, do you know what? Let's just have a quick look at what's going on here.
Yeah.
There might be a really simple solution to what feels at that point a really big problem. And I think within fertility and conceiving, we often think of just having, when you get to IVF, I just want one baby. But it should be looked at a future planning thing, right? If you want one child, fine. If you want 5 and you want that future, and if there is a male factor fertility issue here that can allow you to go on to have natural conception, like, it just seems so obvious for us now to obviously go, well, let's look at this. But in your community, it just like amplifies the reasons why this should be done. And why men should take that step to just go and have these checks.
Or just come and talk to us.
Yeah,
Talk to us.
Really simple.
You know, we're really good people. We've got some really good networks. You know,
Yeah.
if there's any, you know, listeners out there listening to this conversation, my goodness, just come and have a chat with us. It's free,
Absolutely.
it's confidential,
Discreet.
it's discreet. You know, you can reach us. You know,
Or Sharon.
or Sharon.
Yeah.
You
You
can
know,
just
DM
WhatsApp
Sharon.
me.
Shall we say hello?
Yeah, we can get you in touch with Sharon and the whole rest of the wider community, the South Asian professional community, because there's a huge amount of people that, you know, some fantastic people that we work with, isn't there, Sharon, that are out there to give that help and support and guidance. And just reach out.
Definitely.
So for the South Asian men, you know, obviously you've spoken to a lot of them about your work and what have you. Kind of, you know, we talk about it all the time. You know, men talk about mental health, men talking about fertility, you know, just other issues in their life. Do South Asian men talk about some aspects of their health and well-being and mental health, and fertility is kind of the final taboo, or is there still a huge issue across many areas?
I think, there is still a lot of, you know, work to be done, a lot of education, awareness to be created. I think that's, you know, it's going to be hard, but it's a community that's quite private, and they don't open up as easily, just because of the embarrassment that might, you know, be behind it.
Embarrassment and judgment,
some of the,
isn't it?
Absolutely. And some of the things that we've just discussed, it's that fear. And they're afraid. They're afraid of that results, you know, the semen analysis. They're afraid of any going to mental health or groups and support groups. So they want to keep that private. And that's a huge, you know, when they have conversations with me, like, oh, please don't tell anybody, because you might know my brother or you might know my sister. I don't want them to know this. And it's very like they have to make that point of saying that.
Because it's a very tight-knit community, isn't it, as well? And news travels fast,
You don't
right?
want someone to know, or that, you know, we're having IVF and that my baby's going to be IVF, because the family will look at that child differently to how a natural. But it's absurd. It really is. But, you know, these are things that are real.
Yeah. And it just reminds me, on the support group that we have, people don't need to be on camera. They don't need to talk. They can put things in the chat box. They don't even need to put their own name change the name on the how it's visible, or just put initials, so that we can communicate with people. So, but the advice and the, you know, even if you're just listening to how other people are communicating, and you want to pose a question, you can come on that chat and we'll answer the questions, whether they're in the chat box or people want to actually talk about it, whether they want to be on camera or not be on camera. We have a whole mixture of people that communicate with us in different ways, don't we? So
Absolutely, yeah. Or even just tune into the podcast. You
Or
know, if
just
you listen today, you know, there's other
Yeah.
episodes here that are educational, and you just do what you can for your family, I think,
That's
is the
it. Yeah.
best advice. But
and it's quite funny because some people just join the support group from the cars, don't they? You know, they're actually way to work or the way home from work, but they're tuning in, listening to the support group. So you can be completely on your own in your own little car and listen in and get some of the great support that we offer. So so you can hide away if you want to.
Are there any resources out there now for the South Asian community that are specifically tailored? Obviously, our doors are open to anyone and everyone, but are there any specific resources that you're
Not that
aware
I
of?
know of at the moment. Not that I've personally come across. I think there's always, like, you know, a couple of groups coming and doing little talks here and there, but not on such a professional, platform as what we are offering.
Yeah.
And I would, really say to those men that they're not alone. There's a fantastic support group that they can just reach out. And as Mike said, it's confidential, it's private. And we can actually help them be navigating to really good consultants that are actually, specific to what their needs are.
Yeah.
We've got so much knowledge between us all. We know all these consultants and we know what their expertise are. So we can actually refer them to say, go and see this person, go and see that person. And they're not going to get that advice online, Googling.
No.
So,
It's that little bit of a personal touch, isn't
absolutely.
it? And, we are well connected and, people, come and see us, come and talk to us and we'll point you in the right direction.
The knowledge that we hold on a professional basis as well as a personal, and that's what brings our passion, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
You're invaluable, Sharon.
You are.
You make me feel so good. You've got me really emotional today.
You got us all emotional.
Yeah.
Tear around the room.
Managed to hold the tears at bay, but thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story and everything that you've done, for the last 15 years with Mike and LogixX, me and Toby, we're still the new boys, new kids on the block, aren't we, right?
Just winging it. I'm an old boy on the block. I've been around a bit.
But, we can still
too.
teach you new tricks, like how to join a podcast and things,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
but
I would have dreamed about doing this a couple of years ago, would I? So
No,
I was like nervous as hell.
Yeah,
I was like,
I remember.
oh my God. Oh God. I think I've got a face for
But
radio,
no.
not for this.
but no, you've been awesome. And it is so lovely to hear your story and how that has shaped you and your passion and what you bring to this industry and us as a team. So, much love to you. Thank you so much. And for anyone who's listening, if you've been affected by any of these issues, we're going to stick some links in the show notes. There's people like Sands and Tommy's that specialise in stillbirth and miscarriage and what have you. So we'll share that. But if you've been affected by any of this stuff, just reach out. And if in particular you want to talk to Sharon, we can connect you with her. She's awesome. She's on WhatsApp and Instagram permanently. So but thank you. That's been awesome.
I'm really grateful and honoured to actually be here and to speak to you guys on this amazing podcast. It's been an absolute honour. Yeah, so thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. And if you can hear sound in the background, someone next to us in an office is
I know, God,
There's
that's
decorating next
device of
door,
some kind,
and they've
yeah.
just decided that it's
Thank God
time.
it's only just started now and
Yeah,
not in
yeah.
the depths of you talking about, stillborns and
Absolutely,
things.
yeah.
Well, at least it's not the fire alarm.
That's it. But have a great one, everyone. And Sharon, thank you again so much for being so vulnerable and brave in equal measures of sharing your story. It's it really means a lot, and
awesome.
it's lovely working with you. So
And
here's
you.
to
It's always fun.
many more fun years ahead. Yeah.
Brilliant. Cheers, everyone. See you later.
Thank you.